Worldwide deep state corruption and fraud is being exposed as we head towards a possible EMP and or the EBS, right? Now, if we have either one of those events, because the deep state corruption is being exposed so fast and so looks like we're going to have arrests pretty soon and so forth. If that happens where they, do one or both of those events, electromagnetic pulse, which basically kills all the internet and cell phones and so forth and cars and all electronics. If they do that, wherever you're at is where you're at. Don't get all crazy. A lot of people have not been leaving their homes because for years because they think there's going to be an EMP or the EBS, the emergency broadcast system, and it's different. It's called something different, throughout the world. But these events are very, very possible, right, with the deep state guys, because they are really up against the wall hard, and they start having people arrested in mass, which has been quietly going on behind the scenes for a while. But if they make it public, then there's going to be some problems, right? So a lot of my contacts and people that I'm, talking to and dealing with, believe that we're very close to mass arrest, right? So a lot of us are like, yeah, we'll believe it when we see it, because we've been talking about it for a long time. But has it, started to reach that level? I think it's closer than any time ever, although we've been hearing it, and we know that a lot of people haven't been speaking like they used to speak for a long time. Either they're laying low, thinking that they'll eventually regain their positions of power and then come back at us, or they're definitely under strain and or have already been taken off the scene and have been dealt with. So regardless, what's really going on behind the scenes, we're seeing, President Trump, taking down the deep state in Iran. The city of London is on a massive strain, from us and a lot of other places. But there's still, problem areas like Canada. There's also Cuba. Venezuela's been freed, but we still have, some problem areas. With China still needs to be freed and so forth. So it's going to be a process going forward. Now, where's Russia at in all of this? I think Russia's already on the side of the U.S. We'll see if Putin and Trump have actually worked out a deal. I think they worked out a deal in the first administration, and it's being quite substantially being operated on in this administration. So, Trump administration absolutely is having great success on multiple levels. We're going to continue to see that going forward. Although a lot of people in the deep state arena are being activated to come after, President Trump and his followers and so forth, but it's not having the effect that they want. It's actually helping to wake up more people, and more people are starting to get on the side of that. And we're going to discuss that. So let's jump into some of that. So EMP basically is, like I said, electromagnetic pulse, a brief burst of electromagnetic energy that can disrupt communications and damage electronic equipment. There are nukes that could send out this particular, and they're specifically designed to put out EMP. Multiple EMPs, across the United States will basically wipe out electronic system in the United States. There was a book that came out. It was called 1 Second After. And in that book was by William R. Fortune. And he talked about, this one small town, I think it was in North Carolina, that, how they were destroyed by this. It says, I'm going to read a little blurb about it. It says, this book presents a chilling post-apocalyptic scenario where America faces a major threat from an electromagnetic pulse attack. And they never knew where it actually came from. But the military is, hardened. There's a lot of industries that have been hardened. If you have a Faraday cage, if your phone or your computer is in a Faraday cage, which basically is kind of like a aluminum foil type thing with padding and so forth, it's thick enough that would resist electromagnetic pulse, it would survive and still be able to use it. But if all of the cell towers are down and all of the internet wiring is down, fried, it's not going to do any good. So at least you still have that as something you can look at, the years that go forward. Like, look, this is, and we found, stuff like that over time, that's been, they found it in, I don't know, I think they found a piece of something in Greece one time that looked like some kind of a computer type thing. And that was like, had, rock and coral or whatever on it that was like hundreds, thousands of years old. So has this happened in the past? It's, it's a possibility. So we'll see if this is going to be something. I don't think it's going to happen. I've heard a lot of people talk about it over the years. When this book initially came out, people were fearful that it would happen. I say you should not be in fear. You should be always living your life as you live it. Have a fallback situation where, if everything goes down, you have food and water and so forth that you'll be able to survive on. So it was a small North Carolina town. The story unfolds as an electronic magnetic pulse attack devastates America in one instant. Society finds itself thrust back into a primitive existence, reminiscent of the Dark Ages. So they didn't have any medicine, that was being shipped in, food supplies weren't coming through trucks because the trucks were all fried. No oil, no gas, unless it was still in the pump. And there was people that took control of this town after a lot of people just raided the stores and the drugstores. And eventually those people that are on drugs to keep them alive started dying, and on and on and on. So it got to the point where there were gangs of people that were cannibals that would go from town to town, raid towns, and eat people. It was crazy. So this one particular town had a lot of former military guys, and they got together basically when this roving band of cannibals came in. They basically wiped them out. But of course, some of the townsfolk got killed as well. Some of the heroes got killed. But this is kind of one of the things that could happen. As was pointed out in that book. I wouldn't, like I said, I don't worry about that. And, because I'm well trained, so I can handle a situation like that, and I could train other people around me very quickly if they were willing to be trained and didn't freak out. So that's my point in all this. Don't freak out, because those people eventually, over a year or so, and there's other books that came in where they combined together, they got a dam going and started, electricity from a dam, and so everything got turned around. But it took time because people freaked out, and those people that freaked out did survive, and on and on and on. So don't freak out. That's the gist of one of those events. So electromagnetic pulse possibility. There are different things out there that could. Weapon systems that could actually create that. And then, of course, the emergency notification system, emergency broadcast system, EBS, where they're broadcasting that stay in your home. The military is going to be involved, and taking down governors and politicians in your state that are very corrupt, right? So California and New York and Illinois. So would we love to see that? I think like 80 to 90% of Americans would love to see that. Now, some people are like, there's no way that's ever going to happen because most of us don't want that, but it still keeps going on. Well, that's why it probably will go down, because we're moving into a position where we're going to be able to strike back against stupid and evil things, right? Incredibly stupid. All right. So, but first we got to look at, the bigger picture. what's going on around the world, and how does this fit into taking down the deep state, and why would the deep state be so fearful that they would, create chaos and, electromagnetic pulses or whatever. So the U.S. is ready to strike Iran again because they're not playing around. They're tired of Iran, just kicking the can down the road. Oh yeah, we want to deal with you. And today, I guess, was one of those days where everybody took it that Iran wants to negotiate with us. But as the time goes on and the stock market, rejoices and goes up, and all the things that we like, silver and gold and all that goes up. Then after the market closes, we're hearing that there's problems. But tomorrow is another day. And so there will be negotiations again that are looking good. And so the stock market will continue to go up. Like I said, it would, even though it's oversold or overbought, at some point, I think it's going to be really oversold. But in the meantime, we're going to have this crazy upward movement in the stock market where there gets a little bit of a pullback before it reaches like not catastrophic, parabolic levels where it goes straight up, and silver goes straight up. And silver will stay up, and we'll probably get a little pullback like it normally does when the stock market crashes. But eventually that turns around and it goes super parabolic, right? I predicted 250 by mid-year and 500 at the end of this year. At some point, it's going to be 1,000, right? But the opportunities aren't there for those that don't invest, right? And that's one of the things I continually have been trying to get you guys to do for years, and most of you guys have been doing it. So U.S. forces ready to resume combat operations against Iran. So this is something that Hegseth has said he's ready. He's ready to go. Warns Hegseth. Trump says U.S. will guide ships out of Strait of Hormuz. This was 2 days ago to just hours ago. He said, we're stopping that now because Iran tried to run the gauntlet and they got fired upon. And so in retaliation, they hit one of the ships that was trying to escape. 1,600 ships are trapped inside, massive ships, super tankers and, cargo ships, massive cargo ships with cargo supplies on them. Trapped for well over a month now. And it's a kind of a, trying to help those people out that are on those ships. If those ships don't move, then they can't make water. It's hard for them to make electricity. So they're in dire straits, right? Dire straits in the Straits of Hormuz, all right? Sounds like a thriller to remember. But this is something that a lot of them will. And we'll talk about this for a long time after this is done. This is one of those events where once this is basically finished and over, then it's going to be historical. But we have to go through this period of time. Of course, there's going to be lots of negativity thrown at Trump, but there's a larger group behind Trump, like me and you, all right, and millions and millions of others, billions of others are behind Trump in making this happen. Of course, there's maybe a few 100 million that are not so much, but that's okay. There's more of us than them, and it's not that the bad guys are like pushing on us as been in the past, and no one stepped up to it. Now we have massive numbers of people around the world that are turning against the deep state on a massive scale, and this is being revealed. So Iran was part of their game plan to nuclearize Iran so that they could threaten the entire world, and the deep state would just pull their chains, okay, point a nuclear missile at America. Now that we've given you the technology to send missiles all over the world, they're being a little feisty, and they don't want to get in line to our manipulations and control and get their vaccinations that will kill them. So that is something that is not going to happen now. thanks to Trump and team. So I'm pretty excited about that because I've seen this, like I've talked about in my travels around the world, and decades and decades of being in the Middle East, and just going, man, these guys are savages, right? I remember when I first went over, I was like, how are you guys calling these people savages? They're human beings. No, they're savages. They're savages. And it's a small group of them that are so savage and so in control that they manipulate massive populations that are peaceful, loving people like the people of America. But we're peaceful and loving, but we can kick your ass if you get out of line. And we're so ready to kick some ass. All right. God help the people that, manipulate these elections going forward. God help them because they're going to need it. Right. All right. Trump says U.S. will guide ships, like I said, and today it ended. The Iran conflict is teetering on the edge again. All right. It's like daily, hourly, it's teetering on the edge. Now that we have who's in charge of the White House reporting now, of course, that's Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is now the chief of White House, because the woman that's been doing it for a long time is pregnant, and she's gone off to give birth. And of course, Marco is not pregnant. He cannot give birth, so he can have another hat. So I think he's got like 10 hats now. It's so funny. So obviously, President Trump is grooming him for something, right? So he's doing so many different things. The head of the Department of State, and about 5 other things. I think he's going to be the new governor of Cuba at some point. So it's crazy. I think it's fun. All the different hats that Marco's wearing, and they're making memes of it. It's so fun. All right, Israel launches airstrike on Beirut. And basically what they're doing, they're hunting, which they've been doing for a long time. They're hunting Hezbollah leaders. And I think they may have taken out another Hezbollah leader. Of course, this was part of the package of peace agreements that we had with Iran. So are we just like openly poking Iran now? So, you guys keep getting out of line. You bombed UAE a couple days ago, and you bombed a tanker that we're trying to rescue. And so now we're just going to start doing what we want, taking out the leadership, because you take the leadership out and eventually there's no more leaders. It's going to take a lot of taking out leaders, because that's the way these guys operate. They have levels and levels and levels of people that can step up. But like I saw in a lot of Middle Eastern countries, like in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and some other countries, where we basically came in and just drone striked the leaders over time. We find out where they were. We had people that were telling us where they were, that were operating with them. And it's like, okay, where are they going to be? And they were like, okay, they're going to be here on this date. And here's their, we planted, I'm going to drive this car into the province, and it's got a, $500,000 tracking device on it. And they're going to get in it, and I'm going to give them the car, and then you guys can blow it up. So we would do that. It's crazy how that worked. Or we would get computers. Can you take my computer into Islamabad and get it worked on? Yeah, we're taking it in Islamabad, and then we're getting it. We being the CIA, and we got all the information off that, downloaded all the information off that, found out where all the baddies are, and they got drone striked. And so this is the way this game gets played. So Q and Trump and a lot of other people said we have everything. And we do, guys. We have everything on these people, and we got the works on them. So arrests start to happen. They know the game's up for the big dogs, and they spend decades and decades and decades, and they pay trillions of dollars to different people to get in positions of power, like Newsom and Hochul and you name the governors that have been, paid, basically put in these positions. They weren't elected; they were selected, and they were put in these positions of power. It took a lot of money, took a lot of bribery. It took a lot of people that found out getting killed to get these people in position, so that when they are ready to do different operations, they get contacted. There's signaling that happens, they have channels, they have technologies and all kind of crazy stuff that we have gotten hold of. It's kind of like the Germans when they had the Enigma machine. They thought that, they were sending information, their buddies in Japan, in Italy, the fascists in those countries were, sending information through the Enigma machine. They're like, oh yeah, it's safe. There's no one can decipher that information. Well, we did. We knew what they're doing. That's how we sank so many Japanese aircraft carriers and battleships and so forth. We knew where they're going to be, and so we sunk them. We were ready. We had, aircraft carriers and submarines and all kind of crazy stuff that were sinking those guys all over the place. Same thing in Mediterranean. The Germans are trying to ship oil to Rommel. He wasn't getting it. Surprise, surprise. We knew what they were doing, right? And we knew that when Mussolini was trying to escape, we sent information to the rebels, and they got Mussolini and his girlfriend that were trying to escape over the border, and they brought him back to town. They had a little quick military tribunal, and they were hung with piano wire in the town square, right? So will we see town square hangings? It's possible. It's possible. So things are going to get a little rough, right? Things are going to get a little rough over the next couple of years or so, is my best guess. And once it kicks off, we could see EMP, EBS, and certain things like that. So you just need to be aware that there's possibility of that. You want these baddies to be taken down, don't you? All right. So there could be a little bit of a cost. If you're ready, you won't really be impacted. But people that aren't listening and don't believe, they're going to get impacted. All right. So you can tell them all that you want. They're still going to potentially suffer, unfortunately. So have your shit together. Maybe have a little bit more for family and friends that you want to support. But at some point, it's going to get pretty rough out there, I think. And maybe not. Maybe not. I mean, we haven't seen rough yet, I don't think. A lot of people are like, you don't know how much we're suffering. Oh, I do. I've almost been killed many times. I've had to go into the woods for almost a year to draw them away from my family, right? A lot of people don't understand that when I did that, I was drawing the deep state away from my family, right? Unfortunately, it didn't work out so great for my son. They got to him, and he's gone now. But there, lots of friends and so forth that I had to distance myself from because I didn't want them to be threatened. So my family has gone through a lot, and a lot of families out there go through a lot to keep you guys informed, all right? To keep you guys uplifted, to keep you guys ready for all these events. A lot of people have been doing this. We're at war, all right? So yeah, I'm sad for you that you're not getting, your arrests when you want them and you don't believe anymore. That's fine, but those of us that can see the bigger picture and keep you guys informed the best that we can, it comes with a cost. All right. So over 123 historic Christian churches in Canada burned or vandalized in the past 5 years. More than 220 burned in Europe, right? So this is part of the deep state. That's, some people just don't care. And the deep state is basically keeping us uninformed about this stuff, right? So all these different churches throughout Canada being burned. In many of Canada's small towns sits an architectural wonder. It's their church. These are the centerpiece of each town. They tower over the residential homes and small businesses, often massive structures with intricate designs and steeples, some of which are over 200 years old. And of course, in Europe, they're like 1,000+ years old, you know, and they're being burned. They're being burned and destroyed on many different levels. So all across Canada, churches are being vandalized and burned to the ground. The Canadian government seems to have little interest in learning why or stopping it and even suppressing the information that is even happening. It's not even getting any press. Churches that have been around for like over 100 years are being burned, like this one right here that you're going to see. And it's right across from the brand new over $1.7 million fire department right next to it, and it burned to the ground because this is part of the plan.
For Rebel News, behind me, a church last night burnt to the ground. You can see the massive bell tower, which fell at around 8 p.m. last night. The fire was detected just before 7 p.m. More than 40 firefighters tried to battle the blaze from this village of Saint-Romain.
All right, so I am a shipboard firefighter. I've learned how to fight fires. Yeah, maybe right here they're like washing down this unburnt side so it stays nice and cool, and but I don't see a lot of hoses. Although a lot of firefighters responded, these guys seem to be just standing around watching so that it will burn to the ground. I think so.
Romaine, Quebec, and 5 municipalities in the area, but they couldn't save it. Every timber charred to the ground. You can still see some remnants, for example, of the music sheets for the hymns. Behind the wreckage is a cemetery. I was looking at some of the tombstones. They go back more than a century. This building itself was almost 100 years old, and there were churches on this land that predate that. I can only imagine.
So Saint-Romain in Canada, and this is one of, well over 100 churches that have burned. Now we know that Islamists have infiltrated Canada on a massive scale. Muslims, Islamists, that has happened across Europe, and that has been happening across America. All right. So I know that some churches have been burning in America as well, but not on this scale. So this is part of the destruction of the old system, the family system, the people that made these counties, these towns, these cities, these states, these provinces, wealthy and famous, and now they're destroying all that. It's pathetic, right? Now, I said almost 6 years ago, if you're in Canada, you better get the hell out, right? So a lot of Canadians did leave. A lot of Canadians did leave. All right, all their best, their brightest have left Canada, and they're still leaving, right? But some people, and I'm going to repeat this theme over and over again because you're going to see it throughout all the cities in America that are being destroyed as well through the deep state. Throughout Canada, there are people that are believing that it will just come back, right? So this is a major point in the history of these cities that's being destroyed across Canada. And this is part of the defamation and destruction of the family units, the wokeness that's coming in. Your children, they want to change their sex. Yeah, we're going to do that. Your towns, your cities, they don't want certain things. We don't care. We're voting for it anyway. And no one steps up. No one does anything. And we're going to talk about that as well.
And how this church was an integral part of the community for everything. I mean, now we live in a country dominated by the state, but for a great amount of time, social services were provided not by the government, but by the church. It would have been the daycare. It would have been the preschool. It would have been a food bank. It would have been a community center where people would celebrate life cycle events, a birth, a christening.
And this is one of the things like I said, I've traveled all over the Far East, Far East, and especially the Middle East. Not so much the Far East that this was a problem in, but the Middle East. And I saw where the Christian churches and the nuns and the schools and the hospitals and so forth were helping the community, and still the radical Muslims came in and burned them, killed them, and drove them out. Right? So this is the process that's going on in Canada and in Europe and in some places in America.
Funeral, a wedding. This church was an integral part of Saint-Romain, the same way the church has been an integral part of Quebec. I flew early this morning from Toronto to Quebec City and then rented a car and drove the 2 hours to Saint-Romain. And town after town, first of all, they're named after saints, just like Saint-Romain is. And the highlight, the architectural, cultural, geographic center of every one of these towns is a beautiful church, some of them astonishingly large, given the small town they're in, which suggests that in an earlier era, the church was absolutely the focal point of life in these towns. I put it to you that the history of Quebec is the history of the Catholic Church. You could do a tour from church to church, cathedral to cathedral in this province, much the way you could do that in Italy. Obviously, the grandeur and the size.
All right, Quebec, obviously French. So I've been to France and I've toured the cathedrals there. Magnificent structures. And when you walk into these cathedrals, it's like, because they were built to basically activate your pineal gland and all the different, things that brought your spirituality and your health to a higher level. And I did the same kind of touring in England. My wife and I, we toured lots of beautiful cathedrals in England as well. So we've toured a lot of these magnificent structures. Incredible. And they're being burned. They're being destroyed by the deep state, guys. We have to stop these mad people, these psychopaths that are destroying our cultures all over the world. All right. So Alberta, separatists say they have enough signatures to trigger a break from Quebec, and they don't need Quebec to give them the okay. The way they're set up, if enough of them, want to separate, they can. So will they have protection from the United States? Of course they will. Because once Alberta has separated, then it's going to be a domino effect for the rest of Canada up to a certain point. Quebec might be a little holdout, but eventually they will too, right? Because they're seeing their churches and their culture being destroyed. And once that's, really pointed out, of course, the press, deep state press is controlling the information. That church that I showed you guys in Saint-Romain is basically, there was no press about it. No press. That one guy is part of a press that, I've basically, subscribed to them to help them. But there is Rebel News. So there is, and I subscribed to them a long time ago and support them and put their information out whenever I can so that they're able to continue to maintain their reporting, because the press in Canada is not reporting, guys. It's just not reporting. And we know the same thing is happening in the United States, it's happening in Europe. You're getting the news from people like myself that are really out there. Of course, you got crazies like Tucker Carlson now. It's gone full retard. A lot of those people that we used to look up to, I guess they were just basically told, now's the time you're going to have to go full retard. We told you at some point you're going to do this, and now's when we want you to do it. All right. So we're seeing it from a lot of them, and they're just completely destroying themselves to try and destroy and try to, bring at least a few more people, over to the deep state side. And it's having a backlash. It's a huge backlash. Alex Jones, basically, finally, it's so funny because it was years and years ago that they came after him for supposedly exposing a school shooting that they say actually happened. Okay, right? There's a lot of evidence that it didn't, and he was like putting that out there, and like everybody else. And so they sued him for $1 billion, something crazy. And they're like, okay, we're going to just take over your news broadcast. But for some reason, it just kept going. It kept going. So I guess they decided, hey, we need you to like go full retard. And, we know it's going to destroy you. We're going to have to like totally destroy you and take away your newscast. It's that example that you don't go against our going after schools and so forth that don't exist. So it's part of the deep state, modus operandi, where they're going to continue to, suppress information. Am I getting suppressed? Absolutely, I'm getting suppressed. I'm getting massive attacks now where people are coming in and trying to slay my narrative. I have a lot of people that, fortunately, are beautiful people that want to maintain this information, and they're chopping the trolls out as fast as they come in. I go back and I look at the comments, beautiful comments from a lot of you. You become my friends, almost like my relatives. I meet a lot of people when I travel that come up to me and talk about, I'm just in a restaurant and like going across country, and people come up to me, I see your show. It's like, it's so fun. So we are working together to basically pass, through this very difficult time, keeping each other sane, keeping each other healthy, and so forth. And it's definitely looking very good. So I'm very excited about Alberta becoming free from the deep state in Quebec. All right, and that doesn't mean that Quebec is evil. It means that the people that are controlling, because like I said, I've seen these people all over the world. These deep state actors, Iran has, of course, some of the worst deep state actors, because they've held that country under their iron grip for 47 years. And President Trump is the first one to really free them. And they're going to be freed. And it's going to be outstanding. So once that happens, people are going to be, okay, so maybe President Trump ain't so bad after all. All right, so let's look at another place that's going to get freed, and that is Cuba. So this one young American has been going there and is revealing what that horrific, place is like. They've taken away their religion. All right, they were very Catholic, just like Quebec there, where they had, people that came in. Castro is like, you can no longer honor your church. You have to honor the state. We are your gods now. All right. So very, very sad. But look at this. This country is basically, since the revolution in the 50s, it has been frozen in time.
These blackouts in the electrical grid problems have been going on for decades. They haven't fixed them. By the way, I rented this bicycle for the day. It's very flexible for $22. It enables me to get around. Private transportation, or even the bicycle taxis here, aren't the best. I mean, they're good if you want to go a short distance, but they're not very, navigable, flexible. This can get anywhere in any nook and cranny. I can park it. I got a bike chain. It's going to allow us to explore things that tourists don't necessarily see. So I think this neighborhood is Colon. And so what you'll see here, it is Viernes Santo, Holy Friday, or Good Friday in English. So I don't think there's school today, but they don't really celebrate Holy Week here like they would in Spain. Spain, obviously, the whole processions, the thrones, the ultra-Catholicism. Well, I've spoken to people who still maintain.
I mean, look at those cars, frozen in time, still held together with wire, and they're very ingenious keeping this stuff together. I saw this throughout the Middle East too. In Pakistan, there were guys that could, take a weapon system, a shotgun that had been left from the British Empire, and they could, a metal piece had broken off the shotgun, so it was no longer usable. they could go in and completely manufacture that piece and then get that shotgun going again. I saw so much talent like that, but that's how they don't have access to these weapon systems, obviously in Pakistan, because they're under rigid control through a very evil state. And the same thing with Cuba. Cuba's been, under, for, almost, it's like 70, yep, 70s, about 76, 77 years, somewhere around in there, where they have, been frozen in time, and they haven't been able to get the parts and the stuff that they would normally do because there's such controls. But I mean, look at these vehicles. I mean, yeah, look at that cab. Somebody got a nice cab in there. That's pretty funny. But you rarely see any nice cars. Trash on the streets. These buildings are like 200 years old. They're still standing. They used to be millionaires that had these homes, and the millionaires are long gone, just like a lot of major cities in the U.S.
Religious faith here, but religion, obviously under Castro, was not permitted. And so there's been a new growth of the African culture of Yoruba, Santeria, especially in the barrios. You can strip people's dignity. You can take away money, jobs, but you can't take away people's faith. As we see, the guys are cleaning here. I actually have seen less trash here than last time. They said the trash is a crisis because there's no garbage trucks, but we just see a garbage truck back there. Let's cross here and let's go this way. We're a vehicle at this point.
But yet you see garbage all in the streets, right? So this is the way it is in many cities in the Middle East. And now a lot of towns, big towns, Detroit, which we're going to talk about, completely collapsed. No Republicans have been in Detroit for 100 years. Same thing that's happening in Chicago, probably 100 years since they've been have a Republican mayor. Same thing is happening in LA, in San Francisco. These cities are collapsing, trash on the streets. Seattle, homeless, Portland, homeless, poop in the streets everywhere, businesses closing down, millionaires and billionaires leaving in droves. And then there's people that are like, I mean, look at this city. You think there's anyone left from the 50s? Yeah, there's still some, unfortunately, that never escaped. They thought that it'll turn around. It'll turn around. Just like the people of Detroit thought their city would turn around. And they stayed in their homes until all the homes around them were abandoned, crack houses and so forth. And then they had to escape for their lives and just leave. So if they even were able to escape, right? Some seniors probably were, not so lucky, right? So this is the thing that we're seeing with the deep state guys, the incredible corruption, the fraud that's just destroying whole countries like Cuba, whole countries like the United States. Fortunately, President Trump came back just as things were starting to accelerate to the downside. Now, what was it that caused the acceleration to the downside? That is where the payment for debt. So all of the trillions of dollars that we had in debt. So the interest payment on the debt was higher than what we were paying for defense. Whenever that has happened in history, that is the collapse of that civilization. So that happened in 2025 in the United States. All right. So what turns that around? Where the country produces to the point where it reverses that, and then gets to the point where, accelerates. That's where we're heading now. But there's a lot of cities that are going to resist. All these Democrat cities, which is basically deep state, are going to resist. All these states that are deep state Democrat cities are going to resist.
Okay, I see some trash up here. Let's look at the situation with the trash. I've noticed that people come, oh God. Oh God. Oh God. It smells. Oh, I've noticed that trash.
Yeah, New York, LA, Chicago, San Francisco. Take a bike ride down some of those streets. You're going to be puking too.
Of course, but also you guys, there's been a cultural, educational decline in years past, and people just throw trash in the street. It is what it is. Sad, but I don't think it used to be that way. I think there used to be pride and educación, as they say in Spanish. Throw trash in the street. It is what it is.
See the graffiti? Just like LA, San Francisco, Chicago, New York. It's the same process, guys. The same process of collapse.
But I don't think it used to be that way. I think there used to be pride and educación, as they say in Spanish. You unfortunately see this all throughout Latin America and the Caribbean. You just dump your trash everywhere. But Cuba's an exception because, I guess, the most you can do is bring it to those trash areas.
All right. So as you guys can see, there is desolation that's going on in those cities. Now, I have to run through this because I just realized I'm very close to dinner time. I'm in Hawaii. As you guys can see, another LifeWave trip, my 7th. When was the last time you had a company that gave you a free trip for doing really well in your company? When was the last time you got bonuses that were unbelievable in your company? Yeah, that's what I get with LifeWave. That's why I've been promoting LifeWave for all this time. So LifeWave is a breakaway from this deep state control system. And I can talk in depth about how the founder, David Schmidt, was, pressed hard by the deep state when he worked for the military, developing LifeWave technologies for SEAL teams. And Obama came in and basically kicked him out. So then he's like, okay, I'll do it out here for the public. So now he has gotten a lot of pushback out here in the public from in a lot of different ways. But this is the wave of the future. So glad to be part of that. Now, let's look at how decades of Democrat rule ruined some of our finest cities. Like I said, I got to push through this very quickly. So let's look at this real quick. So, of course, urban blight a few decades ago. Now, this is back in 2016. So this is 10 years ago. A few days ago, filmmaker Michael Moore tweeted, Flint has voted for Dems for 84 straight years. So 94 straight, almost a year, almost 100 years now. What did it get us? Don't drink the water in Flint, Michigan. Federal and state officials botch a water supply switch, blah, blah, blah. So we see this thing repeated over and over again. 100 years of Democrat rule. Detroit last elected a Republican mayor in 1957. It is now the model of urban failure, with almost 40% of the population living below the poverty line. All right, what's left of the population? 1.2 million people less in Detroit than at its height. So a 60% decline in the population of Detroit, which was at one time, if it wasn't the number one, it was the number 2 most successful cities in America. And under Democrat rule, it has been destroyed. Chicago's last GOP mayor was elected in 1927. So almost 100 years. And more than 2,300 people were shot there last year. This is 2016. That number is probably 1,000 more now. And nearly 400 lost their lives to homicides. All right. So that's probably, its finances are just so grim. Chicago is so broke. Stephen Moore explained months ago that its bonds are junk status. All right. So St. Louis has been Democrat mayor since 1949. Philadelphia, last GOP, 1952. Baltimore and Oakland, both as late as 1960s. Newark, New Jersey hasn't had a GOP for more than a century. It was ranked as the 5th worst city to live in 2015. Detroit, of course, was first. All right. When Democrats are in control, cities they don't tend to go soft on crime. They are soft on crime. Reward cronies, fraud with public funds, establish hostile business environments, heavily tax the most productive citizens, and set up fat pensions for their union friends. All right. We all know this. This has been part of the problem for a long time, guys. Deep state. Detroit lost 1.2 million people, as I said, from its peak population of 1.85 million in 1950, resulting in a significant decline to around 680,000 by 2015. What is it now? Like 200,000? Right. So I don't know, guys. What do you guys think? You think Democrats are a problem? Hello, been saying this for years. All right, so let's watch this one. Tom Holman basically talking about New York.
Governor Jaco, I'm not asking either. I said it, we're going to do it. No, she wants to sign legislation. She supports this legislation it's going to lock us out of jails. It's going to end 287G agreements. And it's going to prevent us from arresting a criminal alien in safety and security of a jail. We have partnerships in New York, throughout the state. Not everywhere, but she wants to end the partnerships we currently have, which means now we got to send a whole.
So now he's got to send a bunch of people to do arrests where they should be doing them at the jails. But the Democrats are letting the criminals out onto the street. All right. And then when ICE comes in to arrest them, and they have to come in big numbers because they got all these crazies that are on, text messaging that ICE is headed to this area, go block them, go harass them. What the hell? The deep state is controlling our cities, destroying our cities, and we're not doing anything about it. So you have to stand up and you have to get involved, guys. Now let's look at California. California is going into destruct mode. All right, so let's listen to one of the natives explain the situation.
So I'm driving, but somebody else is filming. Kevin Kiley went on Adam Carolla today, and I listened to something that he said that I just want to repeat to everybody. 70% of Californians wanted crime to be crime. And we passed the crime bill called Prop 36, which meant if you stole something under $1,000, you were still stealing. Okay. We stopped that because of COVID and all kinds of Black Lives Matter stuff and a million things. And 70% of Californians said, no, we need to incarcerate these people. And we won. And what is actually true is that the Democratic control of California has thwarted the will of the people, thwarted what people voted for, 70%. And not enforced Prop 36 or funded Prop 36. So my point about it is you can vote for whatever you want. These Democrats are not going to enforce the will of the people. That means we don't actually have government. We have actual tyranny.
All right. So, yeah, we have Democrat deep state tyranny throughout America. They're giving away our money to overseas like they did for Ukraine. Hundreds of billions of dollars, all right, for a war that absolutely was not helping us, which is trying to take down a very good country, which is Russia. So Russians are more like us than any other country right now. And, the deep state is working overtime to try and take down Russia, just like they did back during the Tsar's time. Because why? Because Russia helped us in the Civil War and in the Revolutionary War. And the city of London did not like that, right? So they made sure a lot of the people that basically went over to take down the Tsar were trained in London, all right? And then went down, took down the Tsar, and finally the Russian people rose up and pushed back. So we're seeing a little bit of help that's happening right now in Iran. And once we get it to a point where the people can, step up and take down that unbelievably evil regime, we're going to do the same thing in Cuba. We're going to do the same thing in Cuba, guys. It's going to happen. It's going to happen over and over again around the world. Now, new population figures show Bay Area cities continue to lose residents on a massive scale. San Francisco falls from 27th to 126th in ranking of best U.S. cities. Now, LA is right up there with them. Los Angeles population drops as San Francisco's drops even faster. So why is LA struggling? Because they have Democrats. They have Democrats. Hello. Let's get this done, guys. Let's get these people out. Seattle spends $154 million on homeless as drug use spreads. It's happening every Democrat city. Every Democrat city. You just keep going around. I looked up when was the last time they had a Republican in LA. 2001. Right. So for 25 years, quarter century, LA is in massive decline, and if it continues, it will end up like Detroit. It takes just a little bit of observational skills to figure this out, guys. It's not rocket science. All right. So last Republican mayor of San Francisco, 1964. San Francisco is getting close to Cuba. Getting close to Cuba, guys. It's going to happen. It's obvious. This is the path. All right, so we have to take down these deep staters. They're going to push back. Be ready, but we have to take them down. Right? If you get involved community-wise, it will be a lot easier. If we start to get rid of these evil sons of bitches, right? So, all right, guys, lots of love. I'm heading up a dinner, and here I am. I'm like a minute late, so I got to run. All right, lots of love. Stay in the love vibration, and I'll see you guys next time.